All right, good morning everybody. Welcome and thanks for joining us for this morning's webinar. My name is Ellen Ramsey. I'm one of the Associate Directors of the Eligibility Center, and I'm joined here by Sam White, my fellow presenter here, our team lead of customer relations. So today's session we're going to kind of review the project really briefly and then cover a variety of new features, some standing issues with those and workarounds that we've identified just for now. Also, due to the kind of large audience, we'll be using the chat function for you to submit questions. So that's going to be at the top of your screen, the little word bubble there. Feel free to submit questions throughout, and Aaron Channel, our other associate director, will be kind of collecting those throughout, and we'll address those toward the end in a Q&A portion. So with that, we're going to move into a quick status update of the project. So we launched the new technology platform on May 8th. Prior to that, eligibility staff had been conducting testing for a couple of months starting in late February through that launch. Unfortunately, over the past few weeks, we've experienced several unforeseen overload issues that have affected both internal and external users. So things that we've noticed and we've heard from you all already is the inability for various pages to load. We're aware of the timeout errors that some folks are getting and various page errors. That is something that our programmers are working on exactly as we speak. They're sending us updates throughout this morning actually, so hopefully we'll see a lot of that get fixed in the coming days. For other issues that we know you all are experiencing, our programmers have given us a timeline of hoping to get the majority of those corrected by the end of June. I will tell you though, we continue to have a list of additional functionality that we look forward to being able to add kind of in addition to the issues list that we're still working through. So by no means are we working with a finished project at this point, which is good news. So along with all of those issues, I'm sure you've experienced that we're expecting higher than normal inquiry volumes. So we've onboarded some additional seasonal staff earlier than expected and are working overtime to help get those questions answered really just as quickly as possible. We do understand that kind of lag can be frustrating. So if you, as our members, are unable to reach us at customer relations, please feel free to reach out directly to our customer service team lead, Sam White, and he'll be happy to kind of direct your inquiry and get you helped as quickly as possible. So thank you so much for your patience as we continue to work through these issues. We know that it's been an inconvenience at such a pressing time of year as you try to wrap up the school year and prepare for summers, but really just tons of thanks sending out to you all for good, kind words and your patience as we work through that. So that's a quick overview of the project and where we are today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sam for the majority of today's session to kind of work through kind of function by function the new features and navigation tutorials. So, Sam?
Hey, good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to everyone else. We're going to jump right in here and get started with this webinar and start talking about some of the things that I know that I've discussed with a lot of you on the phones, just some of the issues that you've had. So just want to kind of start right with it. So what we're going to talk about first is how to grant access to the PlayNAIA website. And so I know that when a lot of people were trying to get registered, they were trying to register through the actual PlayNAIA website, but in order to get access, the ADs will need to log into NAIA Help and provide that access. Similar to the old PlayNAIA website, which used the permissions list, today we now use the NAIA Help staff list to determine the NAIA members that need to have access. And so we're going to go through a quick tutorial on how to provide that access. Can everybody hear me? Hello, can you guys hear me? All right, sorry about that. Let me try and. All right, if you can just on the chat, just let us know if you can hear me. All right, sounds like everybody's able to hear me now, so I'll go ahead and move forward. So we're going to go through a quick tutorial on how to grant access through for PlayNAIA. So the first thing that you want to do is when you get to the NAIA Help website, obviously if you're having issues logging into NAIA Help, please make sure to contact Tony Bybee, and this is strictly for help with logging into NAIA Help. So once you are logged in, so the first thing that you'll want to do when you get logged in is go to the institutional information section. And now this video was shot with my login, so there might be some options on that left menu that you're not going to see, but everybody should have access to the institutional information section. And so the first thing that you'll want to do is get to that section, and then you'll want to go to the view and edit staff option. So once you click on that, you'll have all of your list of staff members. And so any staff member that has been provided access to the PlayNAIA website will show up here. And so they'll be designated with a role. So that role might be the athletic director, it could be coach, it could be assistant AD, a host of roles that are available there. And so for those staff members who have not logged in yet, you definitely want to make sure that you talk with your athletic director and that you are listed on this staff list. Because without being listed on this staff list, you are not going to have access to the website. And so if you do find that there is a member of your staff that is not listed, you'll need to go to the add staff member section. And so from there, you'll just need to add them with their credentials and their role. There are a multitude of roles, and users can have more than one designated role. So when you fill that out, it's going to ask what the primary role is. You'll go ahead and select it. So if you have a registrar who also is your FAR, you can list them as such. And then once they are added, down below, you can click on that add an additional role to their name there. So I'm just quickly checking just to make sure no questions about how to add the staff members. I think we're all pretty well versed in how to do that. So I'll move forward here and just kind of go over some key points. Again, the ADs are the only individuals who can add those new staff members, and later on down the road they will have that ability to add them via the PlayNAIA website. So rather than going through NAIA Help, they'll be using PlayNAIA to designate those roles and change specific roles. This feature is not yet operational, so right now everything is kind of set to a default permissions and in a temporary place until that feature gets added, along with the other enhancements and features that we're working on. I do want to just point out that there are specific roles that have access to the shortlist, and that is for the athletic directors, assistant ADs, coaches, assistant coaches, and FARs. So if you have a registrar, some of the other, I think the Eligibility Center contacts, other roles like that, they will not have access to the short list. You'll need to designate one of these specific roles to them in order for them to have access.
And I'm just going to jump in quickly to clarify that NAIA members will always be added to the system through NAIA Help, just like they've always done. But there's a couple new permissions that the AD will be able to manipulate within PlayNAIA kind of after they've been initially added. So that's the piece that's not quite yet functional.
All right, so now that we've got our staff members added, we're going to talk about how to log into the PlayNAIA website. As I said before, there is no reason or way for members to register through the PlayNAIA website. It's all going to be done with regards to adding them through NAIA Help. So I know that there's been a couple of individuals who have tried to register who didn't have access. Please do not register through the PlayNAIA website. You'll use NAIA Help. And so just wanted to make that note before we get into this tutorial here. So once you're on the PlayNAIA website, every user, regardless of their role, will use the sign-in option that is in the top right-hand corner. You do not want to put in your email address and do register student. You want to click on that sign-in in the top right-hand corner. And that goes for your registrars, for your FARs, any individual that needs to get into the website. That's where they'll need to log in at. The same goes for students, high school users, anybody that you come across that needs access to the website. If they've already registered, they'll sign in that top right hand corner. So once you are clicked on your sign in, you'll go ahead and put your email address in. The username is always going to be your email address that's listed in NAIA Help. So if your email is incorrect, you'll need to talk to your AD about getting that updated in NAIA Help. Excuse me. So if you're logging in for the first time, you're gonna get a message, and I wasn't able to get that shot, but I know a lot of you have seen that, the welcome back message, and it tells you to follow the link. If you're having issues with that, you can use the forgot password option, and that will allow the system to send you an email link. So if you didn't get that link, or if the link in the email that you received was not working or not functional, use that forgot password option so that you can get a new link to you. I know there are some issues. You might have to talk to your IT department about allowing the email address to come through, but please use the forgot password to try and get that link. If you're still having issues, definitely give us a call at the customer relations department. Once you're logged in, depending on your role, excuse me here. So right now, when you first log in, if the profile is not updated, you're going to see the school profile. And so that needs to be updated. And we'll go over this a little bit more later on in this webinar here. But I just wanted to point out that you might see that school profile. Once the school profile has been updated, if you're a registrar, you're going to see the student list when you log in. Whereas if you're one of those designated roles, AD, coach, assistants, things of that nature, you're going to log in and see the short list as your default kind of home screen there. And so just want everybody to be aware of that, because I know that there was some confusion when logging in, especially for that first time. Everybody was seeing the school profile. And once that profile is updated, then you'll be able to start seeing the designated screens that you need to see and operate in. So again, just going over some of those key points from when you log in. When logging in again as a registrar, the school profile will show up. You'll need to fill that out, and that needs to be filled out by your registrar because it's academic information, and then the users who have access to the short list again will be able to see the short list and start looking at their students doing what they need to do for eligibility. Again, members do not need to register. They all sign in using that top right hand corner, and usernames will always be your email address. So double check NAIA Help, make sure your email address is correct. A couple of bits of information about student logins, because I know we had some questions about that. So students who were registered in the old, students who were registered in the old PlayNAIA site are considered in flight, and when we migrated that information over to the new site, The new site does not recognize them as a user until they get logged in and verify the information and set their password. So we sent emails out to those students asking them to get logged in, but we definitely will need your help in terms of students who were paid in the old site or got a fee waiver and were registered. They are going to need to log back in and set their password, verify the information through the registration, and complete their profile. And again, it's really just verifying the information. It's not like they have to redo the whole profile. All the information that was on their old profile will be populated into those fields, and they just need to verify it. With regards to transcripts, test scores, other documents that are received in the old system, that information can't be properly paired to their account until they actually get in there and complete those steps of setting their password, registering, and completing the profile in the new website. With you looking at the short list, I know there's been a couple of questions of, there's 0 tasks showing, 0 completed tasks showing. That's because those students have not logged into the new system yet. So if you do see that, if you go onto a student's profile from the short list that was previously on your short list in the old system, and you're seeing 0 for the current task or completed task, make sure that you contact those students and have them log in so that they can move forward and get everything properly paired to their account. All right, so I know there were some questions about previewing those previous decisions, and so right along the same lines with those students that we moved over, we're going to go through that information quickly here. So students who received the decision in the previous system, those students will still be accessible in the new system. You'll still be able to go to their profile. If you need to pull eligibility information, you will be able to do that. So you'll, from your short list, go to the decision details, and it should be showing that screenshot of their previous decision. It will look similar to what it looked like in the old system. The active and completed tasks will not be blank. It should be showing you up at the top that their running athlete has gone all the way across and has reached the finish line with the decision. I know that we are still experiencing some previous decisions for students not loading. So those are continuously being updated. So if you do log in there, you might get a message that says that the screen capture has not been uploaded and to please try again later. So you'll just want to continue checking on that. If you do need to get some information, you can contact customer relations and we can try and get the access to that information to provide you with what you need. So this is just kind of what it will look like when you see that screen capture. It's going to show you those previous decisions. Excuse me. It's going to show you the previous decision that was made and all the decision details like you would normally see it in the old system. So it's pulled directly over from the new system onto the, from the old system into the new system onto the student's profile. So when you click on that decision details, this is the information that you will see. So now that we've talked about previous decisions, let's talk about the current decisions that we're going to be seeing and issuing out. I know we've issued out a couple of decisions over the past month as we've kind of gotten up to speed and gotten the system updated. And so when you go in and you have a student who's received a decision in the new system, this is what the decision details screen is going to look like. It is going to have all of the information, so the date that they were the decision was posted, the term that's applicable for that decision. Excuse me, let me back up here so you guys can see this information a little bit better. And so it's going to have all of those details that you normally used to seeing on the decision details. So your seasons of competition, terms of attendance, what rules are applicable to them and if they met those rules. And then also, again, the links for requesting an appeal or an appellate review, and like I said, initiating that new application right there, start a new application link. So as you can see, we have these detail link kind of words over here. These are clickable links. I know they don't look like it, but to get more information. So if I was looking at seasons of competition and I wanted to know where that student was charged at, what you would do is click on the details, and it's going to pop up a new window to show you that detailed information. So it's going to show you the school that we found out that they were charged for, the sport, the level of that competition, dates, and then obviously the big one there, that season of competition, how many seasons they were charged. The same goes for the other details. As you click on those, you're going to see details for terms of attendance. The nice thing about the terms of attendance is that it's going to break it down for you with regards to the calendar system. So we have a student who attended one term at William Jewell, so it's going to show you that that was a semester term. But if you were a quarter school, it's going to break it down and tell you how many quarters that student used. So I know that's been a question that we've had on the phones is, hey, this student went to a semester school, or hey, they went to a quarter school, how many semesters, or vice versa do they have left? It's going to give you all that information there on that details list. So I would definitely encourage you, when you're looking at decision details, go ahead and click on the detail information so you can get a more thorough view of what we're looking at in terms of these various items. And so I'm not going to go through all of these different situations here, but just taking a look, if you have a freshman, it's going to show you the GPA that we used. If there's class rank information, that's going to be showing on there as well as the test score information. And then again, when you are needing to initiate a reapplication, so essentially if you need to reactivate a student, you're going to use this start a new application. What that will do is that will send an email to the student. It will let them know that they have been a reapplication has been initiated, and then they can reapply for eligibility, which is essentially the new terminology for reactivation. Now we're going to move on to updating that school profile. And so the one thing that I want to point out there is that this can only be completed by registrars and ADs that are listed at NAIA Help. All other staff will need to contact these individuals if the school profile has not been updated yet. This is important, especially for those schools that have not accessed the new website, because when coaches or other users log in for the first time, that's all they're going to be able to see, and they're not going to be able to edit those fields or move further in the process with regards to looking at the short list or any other type of work that they need to do in the new system. And so it's really important that you talk with your registrars, ADs, check in with your registrars, and make sure that those profiles are getting updated. To update the school profile, what you're going to do is the registrar will come in, and that very first part should already be filled out. If you're getting a blank profile screen, then you need to contact the customer relations department so that we can provide a tech issue ticket to get that particular issue resolved. But when you log in, you should be seeing your school's seed code, your address. That information should already be pre-populated for you. Registrars are going to be responsible for the academic information, which is a little bit further down on the screen here. Give me 1 second. So things like the registrar's phone number, the accreditation, is your school part of a college district, calendar systems, all of these questions need to be filled out by the registrar. And so it's one of those things that it helps us with regards to the system to know when those transcripts are uploaded, what various calendar systems you're on, so it's a little bit more efficient when we're trying to get those decisions issued and when we're trying to categorize these transcripts that are being uploaded. And then once the registrar has finished with the athletic information, or excuse me, the academic information, down below you'll see the athletic information that the athletic director will need to fill out. With this athletic information, there's the decision deadline info, which is essentially when would the athletic director like to see a decision for students participating in the fall term for students participating in the winter term as well as students participating in the spring term. And so those are defaulted for fall term. Everybody is defaulted to August 1. And so that is the decision deadline that will display on student profiles when they are looking up at that running man and you're seeing that little decision deadline date at the end there. And again, we'll touch a little bit more on this later on in the webinar, but since we're just going over how to update the school profile, just want to give that little bit of tidbit of information there. Again, registrars should not have access to change or see the athletic information down below. So the term-specific deadlines or the shortlist link that is showing next to the student list, registrars should not be seeing that. If you do have a registrar who is seeing that information or able to edit or manipulate that information, please let us know at Customer Relations so we can get that over to our tech department. Along with that, registrars are the only individuals who can edit the transcript and academic information. So athletic directors, although you might see that information, you won't be able to edit it. It's mainly there for you to see so that if it hasn't been edited or updated, you can contact your registrar and have them do that. And so with regards to the decision deadlines, what does that mean and what exactly is that decision deadline for? So the decision deadline is a soft deadline. It is something that is used to kind of give the students a sense of what they need to get done and how fast they need to get it done. It's also going to allow us here in the Eligibility Center to communicate better with those students. If a athletic director were to say select their fall term decision deadline to be August 1, then for communication purposes, we can start communicating with that student in July and say, hey, you have 30 days before your school's deadline is. You need to get transcripts in, or you need to get test scores in. And we can kind of help you kind of push that student to get to where they need to get to so that we can get them into review and get that decision made. And so if they miss that deadline, if it's August 3rd and the student hasn't gotten their information in or they haven't gotten a decision, it's not going to affect them. They'll still be able to get their decision. They'll still be able to move forward. It's more of just a soft deadline where it just kind of creates that sense of urgency. And again, that's going to be a deadline that is created by the athletic director. And so you want to talk, coaches, if you're on the line, you want to talk with your athletic directors to kind of come up with a game plan for what you feel is an appropriate date. But ultimately that is going to be set by the athletic director. Okay, so accessing the member resources. So once you are logged in, everybody, regardless of their role, whether it's a registrar, whether it's an AD, coach, there should be a resource menu. And so what you'll need to do is next to your school profile, there should be the resources menu. If you're not seeing that, definitely give Customer Relations a call, let us know. But the resource menu, it has replaced kind of the left nav that you were always used to in PlayNAIA when you were on the members pages. And so we've moved that information in here. We provided some of the videos that we sent out in the communications, different guides, as well as kind of the infographics for the transfer rules, for eligibility rules, for a progress rule. So just helpful materials that are not only good for internal use, but they're also good for external use. So if you're working with a junior college student, or if you're working with junior college coaches or another coach in another association, there's infographics that you can send out to kind of explain what our eligibility rules are. There's helpful videos for you internally to know, shortlist functionality, things of that nature. So I would invite everybody to take a look at that resource menu and get familiar with some of the links and options that are available there to help and assist you. So if you, on that left nav, once you're in the resources menu, if you scroll down to the EC process overview, that's where you're going to find a lot of those helpful videos, tutorials on how to do various actions in the new system. When it comes to urgency requests, which is a new feature for ADs, if you have questions about initiating a reapplication, which is the new term for reactivation, there's a situational analysis there for you. Managing the shortlist, we have videos there for you. So definitely, please take a look at that. Hopefully, it's gonna provide you with information that, outside of this webinar, outside of talking with customer relations, if you kind of forget something, you can go there and get refreshed on what it is that you need to take care of. All right, so now that we've kind of gone over that, I'm going to move on to how to upload student records, which I know is a little bit different than using the Dropbox. And I know it's been a lot of questions with regards to how to upload those documents, so we're going to go over that. Registrars will have to use the NAIA registrars portal, and that is for NAIA registrars. There's no longer going to be a Dropbox, so those Dropbox passwords and access is no longer available. Everything will be done through the PlayNAIA website, and you'll do that through your student list. Again, ADs need to double check with their registrar to make sure that they're listed in NAIA help, to make sure that they have access to upload documents and access to that student list to see the students from your particular institution. And so once you're on the student list, you'll have all your list of students who have selected your institution as an institution that they've attended. The first thing that you want to check is this eligibility status. So you're going to see the decision complete, you're going to see the register, you might see prepare, documents, various eligibility statuses. Although these don't look like they're clickable links, they are clickable headers to where you can sort that particular column. So if you double click on the eligibility status, you can kind of sort those students based on what their eligibility eligibility stage or status is. Students that are in that register status are in that first step. And so those are the students that need to get logged in. They either need to make payments, or they need to, if they're from the being migrated from the old system, verify their information and update their password. Excuse me here. And so if you have a student who states that they need a transcript, you need to make sure that you're checking that status. When you, video's moving a little bit faster than I'm talking here. You need to make sure that you check that status, because if they are not in this document status here, you're not going to have this send transcript option. So anytime you have a student, they say, hey, I need to have my transcript sent to the eligibility center. Can you do that for me? I know with Dropbox, it was something where you can go there at any time and just Dropbox us the transcript. In the new system, the student has to be at this particular stage in the process. That is what initiates the task for you to upload a transcript, as well as the email that gets generated to let you know that a student is requesting that transcript. So students definitely need to make sure that they themselves are checking their profile to make sure that they're at the document stage, because again, transcripts cannot be uploaded until you're at that document stage. One of the things that you can do, registrars, is when you're in here, you can click on this option here. It starts off as listed as all students, and you'll want to select the send transcript option. And what that's going to do is filter your student list for all the students who need to send need a transcript uploaded. So you want to check that eligibility stage or status, go to the option here to click on send transcripts, and then it should filter out those students so that you can see who needs a transcript and get that taken care of for them. The other thing that you can do is you can filter by the year, the estimated graduation year. And so if you were to select that, it's going to filter it down even more, so you can see specific graduation years, to help you find that specific student if they don't have their ECID number on them or something of that nature. If you are looking for a student, I would say the best option is to use the ECID number and to type that in that top right hand corner to pull them up directly. So if you have a student who comes to you and says, I need my transcript sent to the Eligibility Center, get their ECID number. It's going to make everything so much easier, and it's going to allow you to find them in that student list a lot faster. And so when you get that in there, you'll type their ECID number, hit search, and then it's going to bring up that student so that you can see, are they in that document status? Do they need an actual transcript? If not, what the next steps are. When you get a student and you do need to upload their transcript, you're going to click on that send transcript option, and this is the screen you're going to be presented with. And so it's going to first ask you, is there a transcript for this student? It's a simple yes or no question. If you were doing something like a non-enrollment letter, for a student who had formerly attended your institution and transferred to another NAIA school, but maybe they withdrew in that first day and don't have a transcript, you would go ahead and select no, and then it will ask you the reasoning for why there's no transcript, and you would just select they withdrew before the census date, or whatever other reasoning you have for that student not having a transcript. For students that do have transcripts, you're going to go ahead and select yes. And when you do that, it's going to open up additional questions. So these questions are going to be the term that the transcript is completed through. So that's going to be the most recent term that's on the transcript. So for a lot of you that are helping students out for the fall decisions, you're going to start uploading transcripts showing that spring 2019, because that's the most recent term on their transcript that was completed. And so that's all it's asking with that information. And so you'll get that filled in. When it comes to the degree earned and indicating if the student has been dismissed, if none of that applies, you can leave that at its default settings and just keep it as select a degree, select a disciplinary action. You don't have to answer those questions if they're not applicable to that particular student. Once you've gone through those questions, you'll click on the select file option there, and then it's similar to attaching a document to an email address. You're going to browse your computer and upload that document. Just one thing of note there, the best format for uploading those transcripts is a PDF. That's going to be the best option for you. You can upload a transcript in Microsoft Word doc format, but it's just it gets a little bit hard for our documents department to kind of process and categorize that information if it's a Word doc versus a PDF. So I would definitely encourage everybody when they're uploading transcripts, registrars use that PDF format. The transcripts do not need to be signed since they are coming through the NAIA registrar's portal. That is kind of the designated signature electronically. So if you have a transcript that you've converted to a PDF and there's no signature on there in the bottom, I know some transcripts have it at the bottom, maybe at the top, from the registrar, that's okay, as long as it's, again, coming through the portal, we consider that signed. So just some key points here. Only the registrars or official registrar officials are allowed to access the portal upload. So this isn't something that coaches should have access to, or some of the other staff members at your institutions. This is strictly for those in the registrar's office. Again, transcripts do not need to be signed when they're uploaded. Since they are coming through that registrar's portal, they are considered official and signed by the registrar based on the upload. Again, this is the only method for NAIA transcripts. For non-NAIA institutions, they have the option of using this portal, or they can have those transcripts mailed. So if you're working with a student who's transferring to your institution. They're transferring from a 4-year or from a 2-year. I would definitely have them encourage the registrar's office at those institutions to use the portal, because that's the only electronic way that those transcripts can be sent to us. We no longer accept them electronically through Parchment or National Student Clearinghouse or some of the other third-party services. They must come through the registrar's portal. We do have schools listed in the new system, so if there is a registrar at, say, a JUCO, and they need help getting access, they can contact us and we can get them set up and get them in there so that they can upload those transcripts. But again, if those offices and those schools elect to not use our registrar's portal, they can mail those transcripts. And the most important thing, and what I was kind of talking about earlier, is definitely just check to make sure that the student is in that document step. That's the step after they've registered, after they've submitted their profile. It's the third step on their running athlete when you look at their profile, because that is the only time that you can actually upload the transcript. The system will not allow you to upload that transcript until the student has reached that particular stage in the eligibility process. And I know at convention I had this question, so I just wanted to kind of address this. When you upload that transcript, when the system is fully working to the best of its abilities and it's being efficient, those transcripts are going to show up on that student profile within 30 seconds. And so if you are talking with a student, they're looking at their profile, you upload the transcript for them, they should be able to refresh that page and see that it's switched over from a current task to a completed task. And it should also be listed in their student documents on the completed task list. So now we're going to talk about the short list. So I know the short list is pretty vital to the work that a lot of you do as coaches, as athletic directors, even FARs. So I'm excited to say that we do have the quick search functionality up and running. I know since launch that's been a big concern for a lot of you, and we do have that up and running. So we'll go through a quick tutorial about that as well. So once you are logged in, you're going to go ahead and go to your shortlist. And so the quick search is going to be listed right underneath your export list option there. So you'll see it's defaulted to all fields to show all students that are on the shortlist. Again, the shortlist shows every student for every sport. And so that's why we're really excited about this quick search feature, because now you can filter out and filter down based on various items that you're looking for. So quickly, let's talk about adding a student to the shortlist. So if I have a student that I need to add, my student is NAIA convention, I'm going to put their name or their ECID number in the top right hand box where it says add to shortlist, and go ahead and hit that enter option there. And once the search pops up, it's going to load up here just a little bit. Once that search pops up, I'll see that student's name, and I'm going to see the option to add them to the shortlist. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead, click on add to shortlist. When you click on add to shortlist, it's going to ask you the sport and the term for determination. And so when you're adding those students on there, you want to make sure that you want to double check that sport and the term that you're seeking determination for that student for. And then you'll go ahead and click your add button there. Once they are added, it will take you back to the shortlist. And once your shortlist loads up, so right now our shortlist is filtered by from A to Z, showing all of our baseball players. So we're going to use the quick search to find our NAIA convention athlete. So we'll switch it to sport. You'll type in your particular sport, which for this student is golf, and now it's going to filter for all the golf students. The one thing to keep in mind is that if you are a sport that has a men's and women's team, then you are going to have to be very specific if you are searching for men's or women's. So when you type in golf, you want to put that parenthesis and then men's or women's, depending on which team you're looking for, or you can just put in golf and it's going to bring up the men and women's sport together. And so if I was looking strictly for the men's golf team, I would need to type in golf parenthesis MEN apostrophe S close parenthesis, and that's going to bring up strictly my men's golf team. So as you can see, I had previously added this NAIA convention student. They're showing up in black here, and that's because they have not they have not approved the access to their profile for the shortlist. Students that have approved that access are going to be showing with that blue highlighted kind of clickable link to their name, whereas students who have not approved access will be showing their black on their name there. You can also check this by going to the request status column, and it's going to let you know if the request is pending or if the request has been approved. And so if you're trying to see a student's profile and not able to see that, that's because they have not approved that access yet. And so now, as you can see on the short list, we have 2 NAIA convention students. In order to remove those students, you would just click on the red remove button there based on which student you need to have on your short list there. So just a quick tutorial on that quick search feature. If you're not seeing the quick search option here, then please email us and let us know so that we can talk to our tech partners and get that updated for you. Moving forward here, short list key points. I know we're running short on time, so I'm gonna move through this very quickly. Again, newly added students will not appear on the short list until their profile is submitted. Students must approve that shortlist access before you can view any of their details, and they will appear in black there on your shortlist until that access has been granted. When you add a student to the shortlist, on their current task list on their profile, it's going to show a task that says approve such and such school for shortlist access, and they need to click on that task to grant you that access. Students who don't approve the shortlist access, it's not going to affect them in the eligibility process, so they'll still move forward. We'll still accept transcripts. We'll still review those transcripts. We can still issue a decision, all without them granting access. The access is strictly just so you can see their profile and the decision information. This protects the student's privacy, and it also alerts the students when a new school adds them to the short list. And it was one of those things that was provided because in the old system, institutions who were not recruiting a particular student may add them and be able to see their academic and eligibility information. So it's adding that layer of privacy, because when you add that student, you don't initially get access to their academic and eligibility information. The student has to grant that access. When you are on your short list and you need to initiate a reapplication or request an updated decision, or maybe you want to file a request for a review or an appeal, you'll need to go to the student's profile and go to the decision details, and then you'll see those options available. For students who had a previous decision, you'll more than likely see the initiate a reapplication if that decision was in a previous term. If a student has a decision and it's in the current term, then you're going to see the request an updated decision option. When you do initiate a reapplication, which is the new term for reactivation, students, when they reapply, if you had a student who was eligible coming out of high school, and let's say they sat out that year, or maybe they left and now they're coming back, when you initiate that reapplication, when they go to resubmit their information, they might incur an additional fee because they are registering as a different student type. So with high school students, that fee is $90. They get an eligible decision. They end up, saying, "Wait, I'm going to go to a JUCO." Then they come to your institution after that 1 semester or 1 year at the JUCO, and they're reapplying for eligibility. Now they're considered a transfer or break student, and so they need to pay the difference between that high school fee and that transfer break fee. So that's where some of those students might see that additional $45 between that 90 and 135, which that difference being $45 that students might have to pay when they come back through the Eligibility Center. So I know that there was questions about ECP software. The ECP software is not affected by the changes in the technical issues that the PlayNAIA website is experiencing. When you're certifying a student, you will be able to look up their decision and view their details through the ECP, the information that was previously entered. So none of the ECP options or situations that you have to handle in the ECP are affected by what's going on with the PlayNAIA website. And I know that with regards to the certification needs, the features that pull that information over to ECP are being worked on. I know they're not fully functional at the moment, but they are getting those up and going so that those decisions that we have posted for a couple of students for fall 2019, you can get that information over into the ECP. So with the issues that we're having, we wanted to give you some information on how to report those technology issues. And so what you'll want to do is you'll want to email ecinfo@naia.org. I know we're not typically getting back to you as quickly as we normally do, and I do apologize for that, but we are sifting through those emails, getting that information over to the tech departments, and then responding accordingly as soon as we can. Please, when you do send a technology issue, include a screenshot of the error message or wherever you were on the website when you encountered that error. Include what browser you were using. And one thing with the browsers, please, when you access the PlayNAIA website, try to use Firefox or Google Chrome. Internet Explorer sometimes can throw some unexpected errors just because of compatibility issues. Those are being worked at, so I would definitely use Firefox or Chrome when you're accessing the website. You still might encounter some errors here and there, but those are the website browsers that are best with regards to compatibility issues. Also, when you're filling out that email, include your role, the action that you intended to perform, and the outcome that you received, and any other pertinent details that had came up. On the example here, you were trying to click on the export button and on the short list, and you received an error. Take a screenshot of that error, send that information to us, and we will definitely get back to you as soon as we can. But we will make sure that that information gets over to our tech department the moment that we get it in ECInfo. It's just taking us a little bit longer to actually respond to the volume that we're getting. So when you have those students who are having issues and they need some help and some direction on who to contact and how to handle that, I would direct them to the Contact Us form. And that form is located at the bottom of the PlayNAIA page. And if they log in, they'll be able to have access to that as well. It is preferred that they are logged in so that it has their ECID number, so we know exactly which account the issues are where the issues are in terms of what student, outside of just the name. That ECID number allows us to get in there and really take a thorough look at what's going on. This can be used for questions or if they encounter issues. So if you do have students that just, hey, I have some questions about some eligibility rules, and you're asking them to contact the Eligibility Center, ask them to use that Contact Us form. When a user is logged in, the form will autofill certain details such as the ECID number and other pertinent information so that we know, one, who is contacting us. So it might already pre-populate if you're logged in as the AD. It will let us know the AD, the institution that you're with, and we can move forward from there with questions on how to address you. With students, it's going to show their ECID number and pertinent information about what type of student, things of that nature, so that when the customer relations department gets that, we kind of have a better sense of who we're talking to and how we can assist. Again, with the amount of inquiries that we're receiving, please allow for several days for our team to actually respond and get back to you on those questions. Again, if it is a technology issue, the first thing that we're doing is send that over to our tech department so that that ticket gets put in. We're just not able to quickly respond to the actual email. And so please allow a couple of days for us to get back to you in terms of a response on that email due to the inquiry volume. So I know I kind of went fast through that last part, these last couple of slides here, but I know we have roughly 5 minutes. So if there were some questions, I know that there was some questions in chat that were popping up, so I was just going to address some of those here. So we had a question about how the decision deadline date can be changed. Once the athletic director has set the decision dates for the year, if it needs to be changed, the AD will need to contact the eligibility center so that we can update that. And so typically that's done in the school profile. Once it's set, if it needs to be changed, again, they'll contact the eligibility center. Another question that we received is how and when can the school profile information be updated? Profile information updates will be limited to the registrar and the athletic director on an annual basis during the month of June. So right now registrars and ADs can go ahead and get those updated. But once we get past the month of June, if there's any additional updates that need to be made, they'll need to contact us. So another question that I'm seeing here is how do I reactivate a student because they were previously ineligible or didn't receive a decision? So reactivation, the new term is initiate a reapplication. Because when you do that, the student is essentially reapplying for eligibility. So for students who need a new decision, their coach will initiate that new application from the student's from the short list, and they'll go into the decision details on the student's profile, and they'll see the start new application option there, so that they can initiate that reapplication for the student. And so with the directory of competition, I'm seeing, let's see, how do I access the directory of competition? So there will be a directories tab that is made available on the dashboard later. And so once that is added on there, it's going to be done later on this month with a couple of the other enhancements that will provide you access to the directory of competition and the chargeable outcomes for different experiences. Just quickly going through, I think
we'll get a few more questions answered here, but knowing that if we go a little bit over time, wanted to thank everybody for joining us, noting that some of the information Sam shared today are kind of temporary fixes as we work together with our programmers to address these pain points over the next several weeks. And so again, just thank you for your continued patience. And hopefully these work for us for the short term until we can get our long-term fixes put in place.
Sorry, I'm just going through.
Students receiving email.
Yeah, so I see a question here about in-flight students. And so yes, those students who are considered in-flight, so those are students that were paid or had a fee waiver in the old system and migrated to the new system. They did receive an email. We are continuing to send out emails to students who have not logged into the new site, but it does have information with regards, similar to the membership email that you got, with the steps on how to log in, create the new password, and what they need to complete, which is the registration and the profile. And again, for in-flight students, it's mainly just verifying that information and resubmitting it so that they are in the new system. I'm seeing some information, some questions about will this webinar be available? This webinar will be available, and we will have our communication department get this information sent out to you and make that link available online. Quickly, I think I saw a question about if a student had a previous decision. So yeah, if a student had a previous decision of eligible, they do not need to log into the new website. So if they got an eligible decision last year, competed, there's no reason for them to have to log into the new website because they are no longer a first-time NAIA participant. So those students do not need to log in and create a new password and follow that register and complete profile steps.
So we had a question about why the Eligibility Center will no longer accept electronic transcripts from the National Student Clearinghouse and other third-party vendors. Excuse me, that's really due to changes in the kind of service offers that those vendors were providing to us, and they really didn't match up with the needs that we have as a business, and were oftentimes getting quite expensive. So we've just decided to transition to this kind of in-house tool. If your college doesn't want to, change your transcript request process, I believe National Student Clearinghouse can still send them to us. It's just that they'll send them via physical mail, as the NAIA Eligibility Center is no longer a receiver of those electronic records. So it is 12 o'clock Central Time, so we're wrapping up the formal webinar here. We'll do our best to get this published online and potentially sent out via email in the coming days. We'll also see if we can get the Q&As that we weren't able to address on the webinar here kind of included with that, so that we can get as many of your guys' questions answered as possible. Again, thank you very much for joining us. If you or your colleagues, if anyone from your school or your colleagues weren't able to join us today, please encourage your contacts to register for next week's. It will be a repeat, basically, of today's information, so don't feel the need to register again, but we will have a second opportunity for a live conversation at that point in time. Any final words, Sam?
Sorry, I'm still scrolling through some questions here. I would just say, if you are having trouble again reaching customer relations, as members, we care about everybody deeply. We want to, address all inquiries, but as our members, definitely contact me if you're not able to get a hold of somebody in customer relations. So for, your coaches, any of your staff that are having issues, again, my email is swhite, that's swhite @naia.org, and please let me know if you're not able to get a hold of somebody, and I'll definitely do my best to assist you in any way possible.
All right, thank you, everyone. Again, please contact Sam or ecinfo@naia.org with additional questions, and we will have the webinar published online and circulated, I assume via email, within the coming week or so. Thank you,
everybody.
much.